Picture this. In the beginning there is no earth, no sky, no gods, no light, just an endless, formless gap swirling in on itself in total darkness. The Greeks had a word for it, chaos. Not chaos like a mess, chaos like a yawning open space, a void waiting to become something. And out of that void, somehow, the first being simply appears. Gaia, the earth itself, solid ground rising up out of nothing. So here's the actual question this video is going to answer. How do you get from an empty void to Zeus sitting on a throne on Mount Olympus, ruling over a fully staffed pantheon of gods? The honest answer is that it's not a clean single-family tree. It's 3 generations of gods literally trying to destroy each other, and every single Olympian god you've heard of exists because that plan kept failing. Picture Gaia, alone in the void, doing something no one taught her to do. She creates on her own, out of herself, without a partner. She produces Uranus, the sky, stretching out above her to cover her completely. Then she does it again, on purpose this time, pulling Uranus down to be her mate. Together they have children, 12 of them, enormous and powerful, called the Titans. Among them, Cronus, Rhea, Oceanus, Hyperion, names that will matter in a moment. But Gaia and Uranus don't stop at 12. She also gives birth to the Cyclopes, one-eyed giants of incredible strength, and then to something far worse in Uranus's eyes, the Hecatoncheires, 3 monstrous brothers, each with 100 hands and 50 heads. And here's where the story turns dark almost immediately. Picture Uranus looking at these last children and feeling something close to horror. He doesn't welcome them. He shoves them back inside Gaia, back into the earth itself, sealing them away where he never has to look at them again. Gaia is left in agony, trapped, crushed under the weight of her own children pressed back inside her. So she does something about it. She forges a great sickle out of hard gray flint, and she asks her remaining children, the Titans, which of them is willing to use it against their own father. Only one steps forward, Cronus, the youngest. Picture the ambush. Uranus descends to lie with Gaia again, the same routine as always, and this time Cronus is waiting in the shadows, sickle gripped in his hand. As his father approaches, Cronus swings and castrates him in a single violent stroke. Uranus reels back in agony, overthrown, his power broken by his own son, and he's driven off, never to rule again. Picture what happens to what Cronus cuts away. He throws it into the sea, and where it lands, the water begins to churn white with foam. Out of that foam, fully formed, rises Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, stepping onto land for the first time on the shore of Cyprus. It's a strange, almost uncomfortable origin for a goddess associated with love, and that's the point. Even the birth of beauty in this story comes out of an act of violence. Cronus takes his father's place as ruler of the cosmos, and for a while it looks like the story might actually settle down. It doesn't. Cronus marries his sister Rhea, and together they start having children of their own: Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. But Cronus has heard a prophecy, the same kind of warning his own father should have listened to. One of his children is destined to overthrow him, exactly the way he overthrew Uranus. So picture his solution, and it's a brutal one. Each time Rhea gives birth, Cronus takes the newborn from her arms and swallows it whole, one child after another, trying to physically stop the prophecy from ever having a chance to come true. By the time the fifth child is born, Rhea has had enough. She's desperate, and she comes up with a plan. When her sixth child, Zeus, is born, she wraps a large stone in swaddling cloths and hands that to Cronus instead. Picture Cronus, not even looking closely, swallowing the stone whole, fully convinced it's his newest son. Meanwhile, Rhea has Zeus smuggled away to a cave on the island of Crete, where he's raised in hiding, nursed and protected by nymphs, guarded by armored warriors who clash their spears and shields together, specifically to drown out the sound of a crying baby, so Cronus never hears him. Zeus grows up on that island, never having met his father, knowing only that somewhere out there, his father swallowed all his siblings. When he's finally an adult, he goes looking for revenge, and he finds an ally in Metis, a Titaness known for her cunning. Picture her mixing a special drug into Cronus's drink, one that forces him to vomit up everything he swallowed. Out come the stone that had stood in for Zeus, and then, one by one, all 5 of Zeus's siblings, fully grown, despite years spent inside their father. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, alive and ready to fight. That's the moment the real war begins, a 10-year conflict the Greeks called the Titanomachy. Picture the battle lines, Zeus and his rescued siblings on one side, most of the original Titans loyal to Cronus on the other, fighting for control of the entire universe. It's brutal, and it drags on with no clear winner until Zeus makes a strategic decision that changes everything. He goes back down to where Uranus originally imprisoned the Cyclopes and the 100-handed Hecatonchires, deep inside the earth, and he frees them. Picture the exchange. Zeus offers them what nobody has offered them in generations: freedom and respect, and in return the Cyclopes forge him a weapon unlike anything that exists yet, a thunderbolt he can throw with devastating force. The Hecatonchires join him too, each one able to hurl 100 rocks at once. With that kind of firepower added to his side, the tide of the war turns hard and fast. The Titans are defeated, and most of them are sealed away in Tartarus, the same deep pit their own father once used as a prison, guarded now by the very Hecatonchires that Uranus threw down there to begin with. So, picture the aftermath. Zeus and his siblings pull lots to decide who rules what. Zeus draws the sky and becomes king of the gods. Poseidon draws the sea, taking his place beneath the waves with a trident of his own. Hades draws the underworld, and rather than resent the assignment, he settles into it, becoming ruler of the dead in a kingdom none of his siblings particularly want to visit. Zeus takes Hera as his queen, and together with Poseidon, Hades, Demeter, and Hestia, plus the children Zeus goes on to have with Hera and others, Athena, born fully armored from his own head, Apollo and Artemis, twin god and goddess of the sun and moon, Ares, god of war, Hermes, the messenger, Dionysus, god of wine, and Hephaestus, the blacksmith god. They formed the 12 Olympians, the gods who take up residence on Mount Olympus, and whom most people today can actually name without ever having read a word of the myth behind them. Here's the part worth sitting with, because it's easy to miss the pattern underneath all these names. 3 generations in a row, the same exact story repeats. Uranus fears his monstrous children and buries them alive. Gaia gets her revenge through Cronus. Cronus fears his own children the same way and swallows them alive instead. Rhea gets her revenge through Zeus. Zeus becomes king precisely because he broke that cycle, freeing the very prisoners his grandfather and father both tried to erase instead of repeating their mistake. And the honest turn, the part that separates ancient Greek religion from a modern superhero franchise, is that this myth wasn't just meant to entertain. To the Greeks, this genealogy explained the actual physical world around them. Gaia isn't a character who represents Earth. She simply is the Earth. Uranus is the sky stretched literally overhead. Chaos is the void before anything existed at all. When Cronus is overthrown, it's not just one king losing a war. It's the story of how an older, more chaotic form of divine power gets replaced by an ordered one, gods who preside over justice, wisdom, the seasons, marriage, ideas the Greeks actually built their society around. So put it all together, and the family tree from Chaos to Zeus isn't really a family tree at all. It's a chain of the exact same crime, a parent afraid of being replaced by their own child, committed twice, and finally broken on the 3rd try. Every god sitting on Mount Olympus by the end of this story is there because that one pattern of fear and violence finally ran out of ways to repeat itself.